The bright two-tone daylight color units on this train are a startling exception in this EMD-dominated territory. These are repowered GE U-25B models. They were rebuilt from SP's 1960 vintage U-boats. The units we saw here were heavily modified ones. Only 4 of SP's U-boats were rebuilt like the 2 we saw here. These units offer another interesting SP story. By the middle 70s, the SP was faced with lines of older GE 4-axle U-25B units that were sitting in dead lines. They were all placed in mothball storage. This was a time when cyclic recessions and higher maintenance costs for the U-boats would squeeze them out. The problems SP faced with these early designs seemed to be centered on the Cooper-Bessemer diesel motor itself. The later U-30 and U-33C models were supposed to address this problem, but SP thought it came short of their expectations. SP's massive locomotive refurbishment program of the 70s tried rebuilding some of the U-25B models, but the results were always the same: prime mover problems. Always eager to experiment, the SP mechanical department tested a Swiss-built diesel in 4 rebuilt U-25Bs and hoped that this would be a solution. SP wanted to adapt a reliable power plant into the U-boats so they could recycle them through their shops. The Sulzer diesel motor was much taller than the Cooper-Bessemer one it replaced, and extensive sheet metal revisions were made to install the new power plant. If enough units were rebuilt, the research, engineering, parts, and labor costs could be substantially less than buying new units. They had limited trade-in value to EMD, of course, and going back to GE was not in the plan. The Swiss-built Sulzer motors seemed like an appealing alternative, and it would get the attention of the domestic makers as a bonus. The SP engineering department gave extensive thought to making the units serviceable, something that most European designers seem to disregard, since most railroads there are state-owned, and the labor-intensive designs simply mean more government employees. We're on a rolling experiment performed in 1978 that was conducted all over the West in almost every type of hostility the SP can throw at a set of locomotives. The dynamometer car is spliced between the locomotive power and the train load, and it acts as an instrumented rolling strain gauge to measure and record locomotive performance. The pulling force between the locomotive set and the trailing train load is the principal force being measured. Turning things around, you can measure dynamic brake force accurately as well. These numbers and data, such as fuel consumption, can help railroads make cost of operation comparisons with more accuracy than seat-of-the-pants testing. This laboratory on wheels accounts for conditions that impact a locomotive's performance while its power and acceleration are being recorded. Ambient air temperature, humidity, altitude, grade profiles, and many measurements taken on the locomotives themselves make up the data used for analysis. Inside the dyno car, we can see racks of electronics and computers that were state-of-the-art back when these tests were conducted. The dyno crew lived on the dyno car, and it had sleeping and eating accommodations for the technicians. Many assignments would put them in locations where it was difficult to find a meal. The train operating crew could go home after the run was completed on a particular subdivision, but the dyno car crew would stay on board and continue what seemed like an endless trip at times. The 4 units had short lives. They were much like the first cars off an assembly line for a radically new model. They had their share of new design problems, and they were also different. Something different will often succumb to some type of natural selection process, even in the locomotive world. It has been said that these units weren't always given the appropriate maintenance because they were a little too different. The German-built KM diesels of a decade earlier met a similar fate. Perhaps the maintainers sensed that the concept was unfit for replication, and they may have saved SP future grief by an unconscious form of Darwinism. By 1982, all 4 were retired from active service, and they were stored for years until scrapped.